world. This is Raday here, author of the esteemed book that will be Stand to Reason, Blacks in the Bible. We are going to get into chapter 12, which is pretty much is the fifth mark of Israel, and it's entitled Influence. Pretty much, um, God has made Israel to be a very influential people. And the first section to get into is the power of music. Pretty much, if one is a fan of, I put here, R&B, soul, jazz, country, rock and roll, or any offspring of rock music, gospel, reggae, hip hop, rap, etc., then that person has been influenced by black people and black culture and black creativity. That's just, that's just the way it is. I mean, you just dig into some of the research, point that out to you. Um, when we see this, the way I would like people to kind of view music or whatnot, even as far as what we're talking about here, is that, music in a sense, it's not bad or good. Um, it's one of those things that, God has given certain people certain gifts, and music is one of those gifts. And, oftentimes, it could be misused. Um, and that's the main thing that I want to get across. One thing that, when we talk about Moses and when he came down from the mountain or whatever, they had the golden calf or whatever. Whew, almost sneeze. Nope. Ugh. Oh, that's the real deal. Excuse me. Um, but in this entire instance that we're talking about music or whatever, the devil is never an issue, right? When God got mad at Israel, he got mad at them. He didn't blame a devil. He didn't blame any demonic forces or whatever. He blamed them. Like it, and that's one of the things I want to get across in this. Even it's weird in this section is that sorry Israel, you don't have or sorry black folks, you don't have the benefit of having a devil. As far as God is concerned, it's all on you. But even then, when we talk about the power of music, there was a time when, I put in here when, King David, he won some battle, he got the Ark of the Covenant back, and they're going, and it falls, it tips over, and, some guy tries to save it or whatever, and he touches it, and God got so mad that, this dude touched it that he killed him. And one of the main things, uh, that I want to get across, I put in the book a lot more eloquently than I'm probably going to state here, but is that when it comes to that influence or whatever, we could see how sometimes it could have that deadly impact, and when we look at I'll say rap music in particular. It's so powerful. It could be so powerful that, we look in the '90s, Tupac and Biggie or whatever. Like it put two whole sides of a nation against each other. Just powerful, and that's something that I dare say, no other music, no other people like it's no more like it's the most powerful uh for some reason when it comes to black folks. And it's not just like, oh, our music's better. Like, no, people died for this stuff. So um that's one of the main things I want to get across. I'm gonna go to the next one, which is Bible slang. um I'm just gonna be honest. It's kind of a corny section. Like looking back on it now, like it's kind of a corny section, but I think it's just kind of funny to kind of sit through and see some of the words that are used, and how they kind of throw them around and compare them to modern day times and everything like that. But the one thing I want to point out is in Ezekiel 21. Uh, no, 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 no. There we go. In Deuteronomy 32:15. But Jeshurun, waxed fat, and kicked, thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered in fatness. Like, it goes through like 5 or 6 ways of describing how fat this dude is. And like, isn't that kind of like what I say black people are known for? Kind of just getting on people. Well, playing the dozens or whatever. I mean, I don't think we're in the 70s anymore. I don't think anybody says that anymore. But I'm not even gonna get too deep into this. I'm just gonna gloss over, and we're gonna go on to the next section, which is trendsetters. Pretty much, uh, Israel was made to be a showy type of people, if that makes sense. They loved to dress up, loved the jewelry, loved everything. But when we talk about that, we'll get into that a little bit later when we cover Egypt. But there are, I put in here, there are billion-dollar industries that cater to black fashion. So when people say that, black people don't have any money, like, no, we have actually like $1.3 trillion cycling through our community every year. And it's just where it's located. It's just a mismanagement of the wealth that we already have going through. But there'll probably be a whole nother book and series about that in particular. But I also put, this may also appear to be another crutch in the black community, as a vast majority of the time that money goes to other people who would otherwise have no other interest in the black community, instead of within their own community. Like, where all that money goes. I just pretty much said that. Ezekiel chapter 16. I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain around thy neck. Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment, whew, God, that is was of fine linen and silk. So pretty much, we see, they're dressed up. I mean, they're dressed up, they're good to go. Even then, when we look at the golden calf that, pissed off Moses so much, when they made it from jewelry. They said, hey, give me all your jewelry, all your, well, I don't really do bling, but, get all your stuff, and we're just gonna, you know, melt that bad boy down and make a calf. And that's what they did. But we're gonna jump on to the next one, which is stand up for your rights. And pretty much, stand up for your rights. They obviously, Israel was called to be a righteous people. As we've been saying, they're supposed to be the, God's chosen people and everything like that. So, along those lines, I'm gonna read a section out of the book here. Despite what the latest crime statistics say, black people in general and African Americans in particular have been a particularly righteous people. They have spent the majority of their time in this part of the world fighting the subjugation of slavery, as well as heavy, degrading segregation in the U.S. They have fought through numerous atrocities and acts of terrorism in their own communities due to many internal and external influences that aren't going to be pointed in detail now. Pretty much, if you know your history, that's pretty much one of the things, right? They just don't know, or we don't know. You know your history, then you know what this is. If you look at we say stand up for your rights. We look at the Haitian Revolution, Nat Turner Reconstruction efforts, Black Wall Street. When we look at the civil rights movement and everything like that. Powerful stuff, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. But I think one of the main things, when I say stand up for your rights, and the chapter is based on influence. Is it any surprise that pretty much every movement that has come after the civil is modeled right after the civil rights movement? I mean, even now, like, the hot thing is gays, right? Gays are the new civil rights thing. I'm not getting into that. I don't even really care too much to discuss anything like that. But it's one of those things where it's just it's that sweeping thing, and it all comes from um, the black efforts. But we're gonna get into the next one, which is weak numbers and strong bodies. Now, admittedly, there's some, I think there's some statistics and some stuff in here. I look at things a little bit differently now, but how do I say, just the crux or whatever what I'm talking about here. You know, when you look at so many things that are made to uh, that are just targeted for black people, first of all, and combine that with the fact that there are very few of us. We're a minority. We're not even like the biggest minority. We're a minority. Um, when we look at these things, how is it that when we look at a lot of sports that matter, like let's be honest here, like sports that people care about, it's just like overwhelmingly black, and I guess when people say people, I get, and now I don't want to just shit on anybody's sport or whatever, but we look at baseball, it's cool, but when we look at like track and real athletic, football, basketball, stuff like that. It's just overwhelmingly black. Like it should be like if it was in proportion to what the statistics really are, there should be like a handful. But it's overwhelming, and when we look throughout the Bible, there's many different times where they talk about strong, um, strong, well-built black individuals, and then there are all other times where they'll there was like a little bit of like almost 300, right? There's a little bit of them, and then they beat a whole bunch of other people, and it kind of is what it is. But that's the gist of that, and we're gonna get on to the next one, which is future confessions. Zechariah 8:23, the Bible reads, "The Lord who rules over all says, in those days 10 people from all languages and nations will grasp hold of, indeed grab, the robe of one Jew and say, 'Let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you.'" Pretty much all that's boiling down, all this is boiling down to is to say, at the end of the day, one way or another, the world is going to recognize black achievements and black greatness. And I can go off on another tangent about that, but I want to stay on track. But the main thing that I want to bring up is why that hasn't happened, or why it's not happening. And I'll say it's because we're so scattered. What's there to grasp onto? We got black people that don't even acknowledge being black. Probably, and some of them look darker than me. So when we take a lot of this stuff into account, uh, it's so much division. No one can really get behind anything. And that's just mainly, I'll read out right out of the book. There appears to be such a lack of uniformity amongst themselves that no one, not even themselves, can get behind. So in that, that's pretty much it. Oh man, I want to go deeper into it, but that's the end of the chapter. We're gonna get on to the next one, which is Family Ties, chapter 13. And with that, gotta plug it. This is Stand to Reason, Blacks in the Bible. Author Raday, Leavy, Twitter, Facebook, all that other good stuff. And with that, I'll see you at the next one.